Gus Johnson is one of the first glimpses into the modern power forward. Even though he was only 6'6", his athleticism and power made him a handful to guard. But he wasn't just a bull in the china shop, as he could put the ball on the floor and hit from 15 feet. Gus was also one of the first big dunkers, as he shattered 3 backboards in his career. He was a great defensive player as well, quick enough to check guards on the perimeter, but strong enough to hold it down in the paint. Gus got a relatively late start to his career, but he was the best player on the Bullets in his first 8 years, although they never got over the hump. Chronic knee problems would hamper him going into the 70s, but he would have to go to the ABA in order to win his first ring. Honeycomb was a revolutionary talent in the league, but for some reason, he's not mentioned with the top forwards of all time. But today's video might change the minds of those who think so. Welcome to PC Hoops, and let's get down to it. Gus was born December 13, 1938 in Akron, Ohio, as one of 6 children. He attended Akron Central High, where he was teammates with Nate Thurman. Gus was already a powerful 6'6" forward in high school, who even tore down the rim with a powerful dunk in a game. He was all-city, all-district, and all-state, winning a city championship in 1958. Gus was regarded as the best high schooler from Akron until LeBron James. Although Gus was sought after by a few schools, he initially didn't intend to go to college, so he ignored recruitment letters. He would play on independent clubs and AAU teams for a few years, but then he met George Squires. George would mention him to Joe Cipriano, the coach at the University of Idaho. But before this, Gus attended Boise Junior College, averaging 30 points and 20 rebounds a game. The now 24-year-old was offered a scholarship to Idaho in 1962, where he became the starting power forward. He immediately revived the program, getting in a season-long battle with Creighton's Paul Silas for the nation's rebounding crown. The Vandals finished 20-6, their best record in 36 years, but they didn't qualify for the tournament. However, Gus was one of the best players in the country, averaging 19 points and 20 rebounds. Gus left Idaho after 1 season, being selected in the second round in 1963 by the Chicago Zephyrs, who were in the process of moving to Baltimore, being coached by Slick Leonard. The Bullets were led by Walt Bellamy, but Terry Dischinger, Rod Thorne, Cy Green, and Kevin Lowry were all solid pieces. Gus was a day 1 starter, dropping 34 points and 16 rebounds in his 6th career game. He barely missed out on a triple-double against Detroit, with 38 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. 2 weeks later against Philly, he put up 34 points and 29 rebounds, followed by a 40-point, 15-rebound performance on February 4th against the Knicks. Gus was a 25-year-old rookie, but he took the league by storm with his production, becoming a double-double machine, grabbing over 20 boards in 8 games. He was 16th in scoring and 6th in rebounding, while Walt and Terry were all-stars. But 4 of their 5 starters were 25 and under, so they were developing as a team, finishing 31 and 49. Gus made the all-rookie first team, averaging 17 points, 14 rebounds, and 2 assists. The Bullets made a lot of changes in 1964, as they traded for sharpshooter Don Ohl while adding Billy Howell. They also drafted Wally Jones, Gary Brads, and Les Hunter. Gus was athletic enough to slide down to the small forward, and he blossomed in the second season. He dropped 37 points and 19 rebounds in the 3rd game of the year, followed by 41 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists on November 14th against the Lakers. His efficiency expectedly went down with more shots, but he was still one of the best players in the league, not just earning an All-Star nod, but a spot on the All-NBA second team. He also had his best passing season, dishing at least 5 assists in 15 games. He finished 11th in scoring, 7th in rebounding, and 11th in assists, as the Bullets had 4 guys averaging over 18 points a game. But they couldn't guard anybody, leading them to a 37-43 record, but they made their first playoff appearance as a franchise. Gus averaged 19 points, 13 rebounds, and 3.5 assists, as the Bullets faced the Hawks in the semifinals. He matched his regular season production in this series, however he shot just 32%, but the Bullets won both road games to advance. Facing the Lakers, Gus dropped 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists in Game 2, and 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists in Game 4, but the Bullets lost in 6. Baltimore added the previous year's top pick Jim Barnes in 1965, along with ageless wonder Johnny Green. They also drafted Jerry Sloan and Willie Somerset, but Gus would deal with knee issues this season, only playing in 41 games. But he was excellent when healthy, dropping 24 points, 24 rebounds, and 9 assists against Boston, 21 points and a career-high 34 rebounds against the Lakers, and 28 points, 25 rebounds, and 7 assists against the Lakers again. Despite missing out on the All-Star game, he made the All-NBA second team again. Even though Walt was traded to the Knicks 8 games into the season and Gus was injured, Don and Kevin really picked up the slack, and 38 and 42 was enough for the playoffs in a weak Western Division. In his shortened season, Gus averaged 17 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists. He tried to tough it out and play in the playoffs, but he could only play 8 minutes in Game 1, as the Bullets would be swept. Baltimore traded for Leroy Ellis to be their starting center in 1966, while also drafting Jack Marin, but it was clear that this roster wasn't good enough to contend. However, Gus would have more offensive responsibility, and he would turn in his best campaign as a pro. He started out this year with a bang, dropping 36 points and 15 rebounds in the season opener, followed by 33 points and 22 rebounds against the Warriors. He was 10th in scoring and 12th in rebounding, but he was the only positive coming out of Baltimore this year, as he went through 3 different head coaches, finishing with a league-worst 20-61 record. Gus averaged 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists. The terrible record gave them the 2nd overall pick in the 1967 draft, which they used on Earl Monroe. He and Gus really played off each other well, as Gus averaged 23 points and 17 rebounds in November. He set a career high on February 11th against San Diego with 44 points and 14 rebounds. His knee started acting up again, so he would miss 20 games. The pro had an amazing rookie season, ranking 5th in points and easily taking home the Rookie of the Year. While the Bullets had improved, they still had a lot of work to do, sitting outside the playoffs with a 36-46 record. Gus averaged 19 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Bullets would hit in consecutive drafts, selecting Louisville's Wes Unseld. Gus averaged 22-11 in the first month of the season, and after that he was putting up his usual numbers, earning another All-Star appearance. But his knee was almost a yearly concern at this point, as he would be shut down for the rest of the season in February. Wes shocked everyone with his production, becoming the first rookie since Wilt to win the MVP, and the Bullets won the franchise record 57 games, but they were swept in the semifinals by the Knicks. Gus was back healthy in 1969, as the Bullets drafted Fred Carter for guard depth. Gus was always a great player in the league, but it seemed like his durability would be the biggest roadblock. But this year would be a lot different, as he put up 39-19 against the Royals, 37-15 against the Hawks, and 30 points, 24 rebounds, and 6 assists against the Rockets. He even had his first career triple-double on December 17th against Atlanta, with 29 points, 14 rebounds, and 13 assists. And he did it again 2 weeks later. Gus was 5th in rebounding and 6th in defensive win shares, making another All-NBA team and the first team All-Defense. The most interesting stat was that Wes and Gus combined for over 30 rebounds a game, although both of them were 6'6". The Bullets have finally become one of the best teams in the league, as the whole starting lineup averaged over 16 points, winning 50 games. Gus averaged 17 points, 14 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. The Bullets met the Knicks again, and Gus would play in his first meaningful playoff series in 5 years, and he went off, jumping 28-12 in Game 2, 31-14 in Game 6, and 23-14 in Game 7, but the Bullets lost on the road, getting eliminated early from the playoffs again. As the new decade rolled around, Gus continued his excellence. He was especially dominant on the glass, grabbing at least 20 boards 20 times and 30 boards twice. He had the best game of his career on January 23rd against San Diego, with 31 points, 31 rebounds, and 7 assists. He was All-NBA and All-Defense again, while Earl and Wes were All-Stars. Gus was 9th in total rebounds and 10th in defensive win shares, as the Bullets' 42-40 record was the best in the weak Central Division. Gus averaged 18 points, 17 rebounds, and 3 assists, as the Bullets faced the Sixers in the semifinals. He played pretty well in this series, as in Game 7, he didn't shoot too well, but he dropped 19 points, 17 rebounds, and 8 assists to help the Bullets advance. They faced the Knicks in the division finals, but his knee pain would come back, as he only played in 2 games, while also playing in 2 games in the finals against Milwaukee, which they would lose in a sweep. Injuries would keep Gus on the sidelines for most of the 1971 season, and with the messy departure of the Pearl, the Bullets weren't the same team. Gus had a few double-doubles, but he just wasn't the same player anymore. But the Bullets would earn another division crown, despite only winning 38 games. Gus averaged 6 points, 6 rebounds, and 1.5 assists, as the Bullets met the Knicks yet again in the playoffs. He had a small bench role in this series, but the Knicks got the best of them yet again. Gus's 9-year tenure with the Bullets was over, as he was traded to the Suns for a second rounder. He did start a few games for them, dropping 10 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists in his best performance with the team. But he was waived on December 1st. But his old coach Slick Leonard had a job with the ABA's Pacers, and he called Gus to provide some front court depth. On December 30th against Dallas, he put up 18 points and 13 rebounds in 25 minutes. And on March 11th against Carolina, he dropped 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists in 25 minutes as well. Indiana was still an elite team, so they finished with a 51-33 record, as Gus averaged 7 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. He got spot minutes in the playoffs, but he got his most important minutes in Game 7 of the ABA Finals against Kentucky. Mel Daniels was in foul trouble, and Slick caught on Gus, bad knees and all, to defend Artis Gilmore. He grabbed 7 rebounds in 13 minutes as the Pacers were able to win Game 7 on the road, giving Gus his first ring. Darnell Hillman said this about him: Gus came to us at the end of his career when he had lost a lot of his physical abilities, but he really wanted a shot at making a run for a championship, and his coming to the team made us much more solid. He was a great individual. The locker room was where he was really an asset. He always knew the right things to say, and he could read people. He knew who could be a little bit off or down, and he could bring you right back into focus and send you out on the floor. He was also very instrumental in being like an assistant coach to Slick on the bench. Sometimes when Slick wouldn't go to the assistant coach, he'd ask Gus. That Game 7 would be Gus's last, as he would retire after 10 seasons. While reflecting on his career, Gus said that his greatest fear was dying and his daughters not knowing what their daddy did. On December 13, 1986, the Bullets would retire his jersey number, but Gus had been in and out of the hospital for a month now, due to the discovery of a tumor on his brain. Gus passed away in April 1987 from brain cancer at just 48 years old. Gus Johnson was a unicorn of his time. His speed, strength, and athletic ability made him nearly impossible to contain, as his high-flying style was never seen before. He was such a great slasher, as he could bully his way to the basket and completely baptize his defender at the rim. He could also hit the outside shot if you sagged off. Gus's best qualities were on the defensive end, as he was a monster on the glass, and he had the versatility to guard all 5 positions. His downhill style took a toll on his knees, and they would affect him throughout his whole career, but Gus is a legend in Baltimore, helping to transform them into a contender. It's disappointing that it took more than 2 decades after his death for him to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, but he will always be remembered as one of the NBA's first high flyers. Thank you guys, I really appreciate y'all for supporting. I had heard of Gus Johnson. It's almost like he's a better version of Dennis Rodman. Rodman had the rebounding, he had the defense. Gus had the offensive game to match. Like, he was an elite rebounder, an elite defender, an elite athlete. He was a great slasher. He could shoot the 15-footer. Like, he was such a great player. It's just those Baltimore teams, they couldn't compete with the top teams in the league. That's the thing. And I feel like that's where he kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Like, while those teams did get good eventually, they really weren't going to compete for a championship. And the fact that he was hurt a lot too kind of takes away from the memory of his game. But I mean, when you play a really aggressive style like that, you're obviously not getting the best nutrition. You're not getting the best stuff for your body. And Gus was a legend. I'm like, I see him just dunking on guys. And the fact that he's the height of a small forward going against 7-footers and out rebounding 7-footers, out hustling 7-footers, dunking on 7-footers. Like, this dude was a monster. Shout out to Gus, man. RIP to Gus. It's crazy he died so young, but dude was a legend. He was a beast. Heavily underrated, one of the best forwards of all time. The Honeycomb, because he plays so sweet. I love that name. Thank you. I really appreciate y'all for the support. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Turn my post notifications on if you haven't already. Thank you. Please be safe. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.